Yo, yo, yo. Hello. What's up, y'all? Ooh, hold on. My bad. My mic was muted, I think. Was it muted? No, hold on. What's going on here? Oh, this is supposed to be muted. Okay, we're good. Yeah. What's up? Mr. SU. We streaming about RPGs, man. How you doing? Blankied up. Curled up. Yeah, it's that season too. It's getting a little cold out here. Jazzy, what up? Jay, what up? We got the crew in here. We got the people at the control room. Ish, what up, man? Eclipse in the control room. Frostnix, what up, girl? Heavy Wings. Dilla. We about to talk, man. DJP, thank you. Okay. Everybody hears me. Yo, G, what up? I gotta go to bed. Screw time zones. But yeah, good stream I'm at. Thank you, man. Thank you. I know you in France, bro. Get that sleep. Armagon, what up? Thank you for the follow too, man. Thank you for the follow too. Oui is whatever they be saying in France. Sorry, dude. I don't know. I don't know. Merci. When you want to make fun of it. 909. What's good, man? What's good? What's good? What's good? What's good, y'all? How's everybody doing before we get started? Because some people are gonna talk. Um, some people are gonna actually talk. Omelette du fromage, Dexter's Laboratory throwback. I like that. I meant nice, as in sharing a commonality. Um, yeah, y'all. So how's yeah, okay, cool. We're hitting the end of the year, man. We're hitting the end of the year. By the way, I know I haven't, even though I'm streaming on YouTube also right now, I know I haven't been very super consistent with the YouTube videos. I kind of slowed down on that a little bit because I kind of decided that I want to do monthly video essays so that they're high quality, so we can make sure that they're high quality. I don't want to just do video. I don't want to just pump out videos just to pump out videos, even if it means that I'm not going to be as, you know, big or whatever on YouTube. I just want to make sure whatever video I'm putting out is quality and something that somebody would want to watch 5 months from now, 2 years from now, or whatever. But the videos are going to be monthly. The streams are going to be weekly. Yeah. So that's what I'm going to do. That's what I can manage. I have a job, a good job that I like. So I don't really I'm not desperate to like be super consistent on YouTube like everybody else. To be pumping out shit daily or weekly or whatever. You know, I kind of want to be one of those people that when I do a video, and by the way, I did try to do the weekly video thing and it wasn't working how I wanted. I was like, this ain't working. I don't want to do this. I can't go into the amount of detail that I think I think when I get really detailed and like substantive, um that's when you guys get the better, you guys enjoy it more. I've noticed. But whenever I do the videos that are kind of like a, you know, quicker thing, it shows, you know what I'm saying? So only S tier videos. And then we can do the, whatever stuff on stream. Heavy Wings, I have videos from years ago that still do consistently well. Yeah. Evergreen content. Food, Shooting Dio, what up? And yeah, food for thought. I just want videos that like, have thoughts put into them. Have thought put into them. But we're gonna get started in a little bit on the topic. What's everybody playing, by the way? What's everybody playing? Juliet, Saint Moon, what up? Xenoblade Chronicles X, Hustler 1, you got it right when it got announced. But hey, at least you were ahead of the curve. Still playing Metaphor. Cannot put this game down. Yeah, I just beat Metaphor. I'm going back to do some stuff because I kind of had a save before I beat the game. So I'm going back to do some stuff and do some extra stuff that I missed. But yeah, I beat the game. That's why we're having this topic today too. Because some stuff happens at the end that I'm kind of like, no, I don't know, man. I don't know. Grim Grimoire right now, remake of Vanillaware's first game. Okay, cool. Ashes in the Hourglass, what up? Been taking a gaming break. Shooting Dio just work. That's good too, man. Games can wait. The money can't. Wolf, what up? The point at which killing the same enemies in the same location becomes boring, but is mandatory for main story progress. ZD, already starting off hot. I just beat those 3 dragon super bosses in Metaphor, had me winded and ready to be done with the game. Yeah, man. So yeah, most of the time I play Tekken with some friends to kill time when I have some. Think I'm at the last quarter of Metaphor. Ghost Runner 2. Ish, you're playing multiverses. I'm glad you're having fun, man. Been playing that new Pokemon. Yo, everyone's okay. Everyone's kind of hopping on that Pokemon trading card game. I've been hearing about that Pokemon trading card game. Nah, Eclipse. Man, yo, if somebody is enjoying a game I don't like, that's still fine. It's cool. It's cool. That the goal is to have some fun. The goal is to have fun. I know you're playing Eclipse. I know, but I just gotta clarify. If you're playing multiverses, if you're playing Persona 3, if you're playing any of the games that I'm notoriously a hater of, I still love you. Kaiser, what up? Oh, you started Dragon Quest 3. The remake is out today, y'all. The remake of Dragon Quest 3. I've only played one Dragon Quest game, and it was the one on the original DS. What was that one where it was like a multiplayer thing and you could kind of make your character? Which one was that? Was that 9? No, not 10. Yeah, 9. I think that was Dragon Quest 9. Yeah, that's the only Dragon Quest I played. And I was like, I don't like this. And then I just dropped it. Once I'm done with the Metaphor, I'll start up Lego Horizon. Okay. So, hold on real quick, y'all, because we're about to start the topic. And hold on, let me get my second monitor. All right, I'm gonna hop on phone in bed. BRB. Okay. Um. So y'all, what I wanted to talk about today is grinding in RPGs because recently I beat Metaphor Refantasio, and the game was really good. I'd say it's one of my favorite Atlas games, probably top 5, and then I'd put it it's in my top 5, but it's going to be number 5. I don't know my top 5 right now, but I know if I had an Atlas top 5 off the top of my head, it will be number 5. Now, towards the end of the game, the boss is pretty hard. And it's significantly high. The boss is like level 85 or something like that, and you can do some things to lower the level or whatever. You can do like this mini. They have this farm, basically this farm dungeon before you get to the final boss, and that farm dungeon is to give you the option to lower the boss's power level, basically. But either way, it's a significant jump, and by the way, I grinded in this game even before I got to that point, and I was still underleveled. So for me, even though they offered the option to farm and level up right before you get to that boss, the fact that I was still underleveled and I had several moments in the game where I was grinding, I hopped on Twitter and I was like, yo, this level gap is crazy. I don't see the point in this. I don't see what they're doing here. And that snowballed into a conversation about grindiness in RPGs. This isn't gonna have spoilers, Frostnix. That's it. That's all I'm gonna say about Metaphor specifically. There's no spoilers. That's just to, kind of preface what I'm saying. But I beat the game either way because I'm fire. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't have fun with that fight. It was a very long fight, and I was just like, people were kind of going back and forth about what is grinding, what counts as grinding, we're just starting, Ziad. What up? Burgundy, what up? So basically, I want to start with the first question, and then we're going to have some people, participate in the discussion. What is grinding in you guys' opinion? Like, what counts as grinding? I'm going to say that my definition of grinding is anything that you have to do repetitively to level up. Anything that you have to do repetitively to level up counts as grinding, in my opinion. And yes, Ziad, exactly. You know what's crazy? You were a person I just only found out, and you only just that shit crazy. Hey, hey, I appreciate you, Orton's legacy. Yeah. We're just on a spinning rock. But yo, anything you have to do repetitively to level up counts as grinding. Now, the other layer to this though is, let me give an example right quick. let's say that you're in a dungeon, right? And you see two birds that you can fight. Two birds that you can fight, right? And you fight the first bird. It dies, right? You're in a dungeon. You've never been in this dungeon before. And then because the next bird is also in your path, you just fight that one also. And it's the exact same encounter. It's no different from the previous bird you fought. Does that count as grinding? Or do you have to go out of your way? I don't know if I'm making sense. So is it only grinding if you go out of your way, or is it grinding if like the encounter is just there and you're just like, oh, I might as well do this too? Because the thing about it is, I was seeing people talk about how some players will avoid encounters. And to me, even though I think you should understand the language of RPGs enough to, not go out, not avoid every encounter, right? But there is a question to be had of, if the encounter is going to be the same, is someone not justified in avoiding it? Like, if that bird fight is going to be the exact same as the previous bird fight. What is the meaning, or what is the point of fighting the bird again? It's different with action games now, because action games, there's always a layer of, I can mess up because of my reflexes, like the bird might move slightly differently or something like that. But if it's just a bird and it's just like, okay, I'm just gonna press my fire move again. Okay, let me read what y'all are saying, and then we're gonna get some people on. Dilla, I don't know if you're still here, but I'm about to call you. Okay, Burgundy, but how much of an RPG do people consider non-essential, and how does that color their take on this? Okay, that's a question. Matter of fact, I need to start doing something while people are chatting. I'm just gonna copy paste this. How much of people do consider non-essential? Did it feel like this SMT5 level gap in the fourth area of dot? I didn't get to a level gap point in SMT5, Jazzy. Not really. Can't beat a part of the game, so you repeatedly do a task in order to become strong enough to kind of get past it. Okay, and Heavy Wings, I'm gonna ask another question, and then I'm gonna get some people on. So now here's the other question: does it count as grinding if the thing you're doing to level up isn't repetitive? So let's say you get stuck on a boss, and then you go to do a side quest. You've never done a side quest before, obviously. And then you just do another side quest, a different side quest, and then you do like 5 different side quests. All of them are different, and then you're leveled up. Does that count as grinding? Because you're going out of your way, but each thing is different. Is it only grinding if it's repetitive? See, it gets tricky. It gets tricky. I don't play JRPGs much, but I played Xenoblade 1, and that game was fine until near the end where the leveling curve suddenly outpaced me hard, and I absolutely had to grind. Honestly, that's my definition too, but more like how often. Okay, so frequency is a layer to it. Frequency. It doesn't have to be for levels 2 specifically. Yeah, Armagon. That's the other thing too, and that's another thing that people weren't considering when I was talking about my definition of grinding. Is that it can also be you're grinding for items, you're grinding for like special equipment, you're grinding for money. Like all of these things, in my opinion, count as grinding. It's not just your literal level. Oh, Mr. S, you said it. Side quest count. Yeah. Um, so for RPGs, I think there's a level of expectation that you're going to be doing at least a little side questing for extra. But if you come across a story boss in a game that requires you to do more than normal gameplay and side questing, like you need to sit, that is grinding. Okay, yes, I agree with that, Frostnix. Let me go down. Let me go down. Let me go down. Ashes. The fight could be the same, but your own resources will be different after coming out of another fight. Both okay, Wolf and Ashes are kind of saying the same thing, is that like your resources kind of make the encounter different. That's true to a certain degree. Um so we let me add that in there. I'm kind of like adding in all the points y'all are making. With the levels, it also depends if can be under leveled and still be able to beat them. Like in Scarlet, you can be 20, same for Xenoblade X. Yes, for sure. Yeah, that is grinding. Nah, not grinding as long as side quests are not kill 10 wolves. Yeah, hustler, but that's the thing. A lot of side quests are that. I'd say most side quests are that. So that's kind of in theory, yeah, it wouldn't count if it was just 10 wolves, but in practice, a lot of majority of side quests are that. Um I would consider side quests like in Xenoblade 1 grinding. Zia, the thing is that it's rare for side quests to actually change up. Yeah, okay, yeah, yeah. Sorry, I'm late on the chat. By the way, I'm trying to go through everybody. I'm not gonna be able to. I'm trying to get one of each person. Um, like I don't know, man. Is that not just the game? Burgundy. Here's the thing, bro. You got to understand also that we're we understand the language of RPGs, right? I think sometimes with gaming, we get so deep into like our thing that we kind of like have this bias of like, well, duh, you're supposed to. No, we naturally know that. But I'll give you an example. When I first played Thousand Arms, right on when I first played Thousand Arms on the PS1, um, there was a moment in the game where I literally got stuck as a kid. I was like 9 or 8 years old at this time. And I got stuck in this dungeon and I was just fighting monsters for quite literally 2 months. For 2 months, I'm talking about 2 real life months, I was in the same dungeon fighting monsters because I didn't know where to go. Right? And by the time I finally figured out where to go, I was so high level that everything, the game was just trivial to me. Right? But as RPG fans, right, as I got older, I understood that like over leveling is not what you want to do. People of us as RPG fans literally avoid that, right? We say, oh, I want to make sure I'm not over leveled. That's one of those things that we just naturally know how to do because we understand the language of the genre. And I think when we spend years being accustomed to the language of these genres, we start to think, right, that duh, that's just the game. No, if we were like 9 or 8 or 7 or a newbie or someone just getting into gaming, that might not be obvious to them. They might just be not doing the side quest. That happens. You know what I'm saying? So I think sometimes we need to make sure we don't get too caught up in our bias of or our our familiarity with these genres when we have these discussions. By the way, I'm not saying that that isn't an important layer to the discussion in terms of like knowing the language of the genre, but you got to have balance, right? You got to be like, okay, yeah, that's the game, but then like is the game communicating to the player that like, oh, I think that's a more interesting conversation as opposed to like, oh, that's just a game, like, okay, sure, but is the game communicating these things properly to the player to let them know that like, hey, you got to do XYZ. Now, Dilla, I'm gonna call you. um I'm gonna call you. I don't know if you're here. uh and then let me make sure they can hear you. Yo, hello, hello, hello.
Um,
Oh, oh, we got something. Say something again.
uh,
Hello. Yeah, I can't hear you, bro. I heard you and then you cut off. Okay, he's gonna switch mics. Let me read through the chat.
can you hear me now?
Oh, oh, there he is. Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey,
Um,
awesome. Okay,
but you might need to turn your mic up a tiny bit more because
will do.
you're kind of quiet. I don't know how loud he is for y'all. Um, but I'm trying to turn him up on my end.
All right. I bumped it up a bit. Is this any better?
Oh, it's too high. Oh, okay. My bad. My bad. My bad. My bad. My bad. No, 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 no. You're good, dude. You're good. You're good. I fucked up. I
Okay.
fucked up. Um.
I set it back down to the default. I hope this is okay for everyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 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 You're good. You're good. You're good. You're good. You're good. You're good. Say something. Say one more thing.
Hi everyone. I'm talking, and I hope I'm not destroying everyone's eardrums.
Okay. I turned it down now. Um. Okay. Now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. 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 So, bro, how you doing? By the way, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. This has been a pretty solid end to the week, so yeah,
Yeah.
nice to relax and just talk about RPGs.
Yeah. When did you say you had to be out? I know you said. I think you said.
It was around now. I can push it like 5 to 10 minutes, so
Okay.
that's
Okay.
no issue.
It's perfect. So, bro, what
Mhm.
what do you think about this conversation so far? Like, what are your thoughts? What's your definition of grinding? Like, is it a problem in RPGs? Is it like how is it for you?
Yeah, so I guess to start, I posted this in chat, but the way I kind of look at grinding, it's when I specifically and deliberately stop progression to actively gain resources, whether that is money or experience points or item drops.
Hmm.
Any of those things I would include as grinding.
Okay. Uh,
Um,
yeah. Go on.
no, sorry, go ahead.
So do you like grinding? Is it a negative to you? Do you think it's still a problem in RPGs now, or?
So for me personally, I think it really depends on what the resource I'm grinding for is, or if I'm grinding with a goal in mind. Like if there's a sword I want and I can roughly calculate like how many battles I need to buy the sword, that makes it feel less nebulous than, oh, I just need to grind like 5 levels so I have a spell that can, I think they're two very different types of grinding. Or if I want a specific item drop, I don't know, that it feels a lot more specific because you're looking for a specific thing rather than just grinding just to arbitrarily have numbers go up.
Mm.
But that's just me personally, because I know that, if we talk to Ziad, grinding's like it's a tedious process. I talked about this on Twitter before, but you kind of have to be wired to enjoy it. And I think it's super fair that there's a ton of people out there who don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, for me, yeah. I think, do you feel like it's inherent to the genre though? Like does it have to be there?
I think I think if they take it out, those games are like the more avant-garde experimental types, like Vagrant Story, Chrono Cross. There's probably a dozen more that I can't think of at the moment, but these are all games that drastically cut down on grinding. They're not as important to progression, but I know a lot of people who, when they pick up Chrono Cross or Vagrant Story, they don't know what to make of it, um, because it's so different to what they're conditioned to expect out of the genre.
Hmm. Um, yeah. Like does Chrono Trigger have grinding?
Chrono Trigger, you can grind. It's a little harder to do just because all of the encounters are kind of pre-baked on the maps. But you can grind in Chrono Trigger. In Chrono Cross, though, for the PlayStation One,
Mm-hmm.
it's a little bit. You get a stat raise after every boss fight, and then for like maybe 5 or 6 battles after that, you'll get like tiny incremental stat increases. But there's no experience points in that game.
Oh, that's interesting. You know the other thing too I want to say about this also,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I don't want to get too deep into this, but I feel like sometimes when we're talking about Japanese RPGs, we kind of just focus on that side of the role playing genre, and kind of we kind of make these sweeping statements on like, oh, this aspect of the genre is inevitable, but then like Western RPGs exist, and I'm not sure if those games have grinding in the same way that like Japanese RPGs do. Have you played Fallout
Yeah,
at all?
I played a little bit of Fallout 3 and New Vegas back when I was still in college.
Yeah,
Never got
yeah.
too far into them, but they do have experience point systems. I
Right.
think I I'm not the person to ask for this,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
no. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cuz what I was going to say is games like Fallout, uh their experience system is like very much, um it's like anything you do is contributing to your growth as a
Mm,
character. You know, like anything you do. So it's very rare that anyone, you don't really hear about people grind. Maybe they do. I don't know, but I don't
mm,
remember like grinding in them per se, because like anything you're doing, even um like I guess what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of like when you're doing one thing and then like something else, like it helps with something else, even though you would be doing it anyway. So for example, like when you talk to a NPC in Fallout, it can raise like your intelligence or
mm,
your wit or something like that. But no one is going out of their way, but you're gonna have to talk to NPCs anyway. So it's one of those things where like it's happening on your path. So I don't know. I feel like RPGs don't. Well, Xenoblade kind of experiments with this a little bit, in terms of
yeah.
like giving you experience for things that you would be doing anyway. Um, so I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting to think about. Um, when is it a problem for you grinding?
When is grinding a problem?
Mm-hmm.
Um, honestly, it's kind of like what you were saying with the final boss of Metaphor. It's, when I hit a wall and I have really solid equipment, I have, all the items, like I kind of know what they do, but nothing seems to work. And the only solution is to literally just stop, find a place that's good for grinding, and get all the experience in.
Yeah.
That's never a good feeling because, for the entire journey, you feel like you're well prepared, that you've been strategizing well, that you've been making good use of your resources. And then the game still finds a way to say, no, but you need to stop right now.
Yeah. 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 I don't know. Yeah. I wish more. And that wall I hit in Metaphor was huge.
Yeah.
Um, it's I'd say that is one of the moments where I don't really like it, but yeah, I know you got to go in a bit. You have any other thoughts on this? Like any other?
Yeah. So I mentioned this in the chat. It might have got missed though.
Mm-hmm.
There are, I feel like, RPGs that incorporate, like you were saying with Xenoblade. I mentioned that Valkyrie Profile has dungeons that have like these little side objectives.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think it's different from dungeon to dungeon, but basically, um, in the first dungeon, I think you have to like knock these pillars down. And for every pillar you knock down, you get 500 experience points that you can give to like any party member of your choosing. And I think, being able to kind of reinforce that exploration element and not make it combat or bust as far as like character progression
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah.
You mentioned Fallout. I think that's another great example. Just finding these ways to make the adventure feel more holistic than you're fighting in dungeons, and then when you're not doing that, I don't know. I
Yeah.
wish I had more time to talk about this in greater detail, but
No, 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 no,
I
no,
guess that's
no.
kind of vaguely where I'm. Yeah.
No, I agree with you. And thanks for the follow,
Mhm.
Ozzy. I mean, for the resub. And bro, like that's exactly. I think that is a big element of like my exhaustion with grinding. Sometimes is that
Mhm.
RPGs can be pretty one note, right? And I'll
I
say
agree.
this. I'll say this, and I'll let you go. Like, um, I think when grinding is a problem for me, and this is what I'm gonna say. If I do the correct strategy on a boss, right?
Mhm.
And the main reason I'm losing is because if I'm doing the correct strategy on a boss and I level up and then that same strategy works, there's
It's a shitty
something
feeling,
that's just,
you know.
yeah, that's not a good feeling. That means I did everything correctly. I know what to
Mhm.
do, but I just didn't fight five birds. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how. I'm not sure how people can see that and be like, "Oh, skill issue." No, I'm doing the same thing you're doing. I just didn't fight five birds. like, like, I'm doing
Yeah,
the
sometimes the
exact
numbers just
you
not high enough.
it's just not high enough. You know what I'm saying? Granted, of
Yeah.
course, I'm not talking about like, oh, I'm level 50 and the boss is fucking level like 85. I'm not talking about like huge leaps like that. I'm talking about like I'm level like 70, 72, and then the boss is
Mhm.
85. And then I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But that's that's you know,
Yeah. No, I
um
get where you're coming from.
yeah. It's
Um,
yeah.
I kind of want to address what Burgundy Striker's saying because I definitely get where they're coming from.
Mhm.
Um, I think being gated by level is okay, but I also feel like I guess the question is how big of a jump are we talking? Because you said you were level 60 when you fought the level 85 boss in Metaphor
No, no,
or
no, no,
something like
no. I
that.
was level like 69. Nice. I was level like
Okay.
69 or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then
And it's oh yeah.
I went back and got to like level 71, 72. Then I beat it. But
Okay. That's not too.
yeah, it's
But
not too bad. Yeah.
even still, I feel like so I guess I'll use another example. I'm a pretty big fan of Final Fantasy IV. Um, and while the final boss isn't too bad, the in my last playthrough, the level jump between the second to last dungeon and the final dungeon was like way bigger than I expected. Where like it went from like, oh, these are random encounters to every random encounter in this dungeon feels like a boss fight in its own right.
Yes.
And you can grind in there, you get good exp there, and once you kind of get comfortable in that dungeon, the rest of the game's pretty much a breeze. But I feel like at a certain point, like you're at the climax of the story, you just kind of want to enjoy the ending and move on to the next adventure.
Yeah.
um
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's 1000%. And I'll say one more thing about this level jump in metaphor. And the level jump was surprising, also because I was bodying everything in my way up to that point, like the mini bosses, the pre bosses. I was just bodying everything. So that to me is the game telling me, yeah, you're where you're supposed to be. If I was like struggling a little bit, like then I could understand like, oh, you're just ignoring the fact that you're struggling. No, like there was a matter of fact, and I'm not gonna spoil anything. There was a pre-boss that happened before the final boss in Metaphor. You know how many hits it took me to beat that pre-boss?
How long?
2 hits. I beat the pre-boss in 2 hits at level 69.
That's messed up.
And then I get to the next boss, to final boss, and it's like, yo, what the fuck is this? So to me, the game isn't communicating correctly. You know what I'm saying? If you want me to understand that the next thing is like gonna be crazy, then you gotta ramp it up properly. I don't think that's a crazy critique. I don't think that's like a wild critique. You know what I'm saying? That like yeah, go on.
Just to use a metaphor real quick, I guess it's like, it's okay if like, there's a storm coming, but I want to see like the clouds kind of, I want.
Thank you.
You don't want it to just hit you all at once.
You know what I'm saying? Like, show me the clouds. Because here's the thing too. Let's say like the pre-boss did telegraph to me correctly that like there was going to be a huge level jump. Let's say it did telegraph to me it was like a little difficult or whatever. The final boss, for the most part, we're guessing how strong it's going to be. Like we have to guess. There's no way for us to know. You know what I'm saying? Like
everything in the dungeon leading up to it is kind of like, that's how you gauge where you're at and how prepared you are. And so when the game tells you no, you thought you were prepared.
Yes. You know what I'm saying? So I guess, so if you don't agree with that, if someone doesn't agree with like, yeah, the game should like telegraph these things, or like you said, give the clouds before the storm, then are you my question to anyone who disagrees with that is that you're telling me I should just have to guess.
Yeah.
Like you're telling me I should just have to guess? Or should the game communicate that to me? I'm not sure if there's an in-between answer for this. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna let you go, man. I'm glad that I got to bounce some thoughts off, with
thanks
you.
for having me on. This was fun.
Hey, man. Yeah, always appreciate you, man.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Peace. Enjoy the rest of the stream, man. I'll talk to you later.
Word up. Woo. Madruga, once again, I beat metaphor. So that's not what I'm talking about. Like, let me clarify something here. Let me clarify something here, because I don't think y'all understand what I'm saying. I know what to do. I know what to do. I'm a Shin Megami Tensei player. Like, I need y'all to put some respect on my name. I beat Metaphor Strange Journey. I mean, I beat Strange Journey, the true ending in Strange Journey, which is like probably the one of the hardest, probably top 3 hardest Megaten games. It's not about what I should do. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if it's fun. I'm talking about if it's fun to do. Whether I know the answer or not is irrelevant to what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Like, I know the solution to what I'm talking about. I'm asking, is it fun? You know what I'm saying? That's my critique. It's not like, oh, I don't know what to do. This is too hard. Da, 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 da. I don't give a like. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've played. I don't even think my crazier take is I don't even think turn-based role-playing games are hard. You know, that's my crazy take. Is that, like, I think these games aren't really like skill. They're not challenging in the way that, like, I feel stressed out about them, right? But I'm saying it's not fun. And this is the last thing I'm saying, and I'm gonna get to the rest of the chat, is that the difference you're asking, like, I don't know how that boss is any different from the rest of the game. It's long. That's my critique. The boss is long as shit for me if you're not at whatever level, right? Or if you don't have whatever build, or if you didn't get whatever item, it can be pretty long. That's my critique. That's how it's different from. I don't think you can really deny that it's long as shit. It's 3 phases. No, I don't think any other boss in the game has 3 phases. So that's all I'm saying, is that it's pretty long. And it's long without much justification, because the 3rd phase doesn't really do anything thematically interesting, in my opinion. It's just like the 2nd phase, but it does soul scream at the end. You know, it takes away your turns, but there's nothing like thematically about it where I'm like, oh, you know. But yeah, let me grinding is essentially a player motivated way to reduce gift. That's what it should be, instead of something the game expects out of you. Okay, Eclipse. And I don't know if Ziad is still here, because I think Ziad said he wants to talk too. But Eclipse said, Gab Mew, what up? Hey, hey. But Eclipse said this, and this is where we're gonna get spicy, right? Burgundy. My only argument is that it becomes a number. That's what this is really like. So that's my thing, is that if you're saying being gated by level is fine, that does kind of hurt the RPGs are about strategy argument. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're saying, like, yeah, you can just be gated by level, it's cool. Okay, so that's not strategy then. You know what I'm saying? And look, let me say this. I'm not saying RPGs don't involve any strategy. But but what I'm saying is, to say that RPGs are all strategy is kind of like, you know, especially compared to like action games, right? Not action RPGs, action games. Yeah, so I think, you know, we gotta be consistent here. Madruga, I completely disagree with the level gating, by the way. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I think people need to choose a side. Do you like grinding? Are RPGs strategic? Are they just skilled? Is level gating fine? Is it not fine? Like, it feels like sometimes people go back and forth. Um, I don't think folks were utilizing the lineage boost in metaphor. That mechanic alone breaks the game. Yeah. Lineage boost. I didn't use it much. Ish. I'm gonna be real with you. I didn't utilize lineage boost much at all. I think level gating is very case by case. Um, Peace out, hustler. Ashes. What's a game that level gates you? Um, Xenoblade kind of level gates you. Shin Megami Tensei kind of level gates you. Persona level gate. I'd say most RPGs level gate for the most part. Most Japanese RPGs level gate, I feel. Um, Wicked audio mimic, unwanted repetition, not so much gates, but unwanted repetition is the root. Being level walled is just a way to get to unwanted repetition. Armagon, I'm not sure how much skill applies to turn-based RPGs since a lot of it is trial and error. Yeah, it depends on what you consider skill though, right? Um I like to compare RPGs more to like puzzles. Um and I think that's a skill, right? But the I think once you solve the puzzle, right? Anything after that isn't necessarily like skill. You get what I'm saying? Like, so once I know what to do for a boss, let me put it like this. This is what I'm saying. Action games, right? And this is the only thing we have real time games. So I'm not talking about like action RPGs. I'm saying anything that happens in real time. So whether it be Apex Legends, Kingdom Hearts, Devil May Cry, whatever. Anything that happens in real time, right? You have to keep making decisions in that moment constantly. So the skill is it's like happening in the moment. With RPGs, or let me say this, you can read a guide on an action game and still fuck up. If you read a guide on on a turn-based RPG, you can't fuck up. Does that make sense? That's why I think the skill part of RPGs is a little um it's tough to explain because it's not necessarily skill in the sense that like that's why I say RPGs aren't hard because once you know the answer, that's it. There's nothing else. There's nothing left, right? Madruga, come on, bro. You can fuck up because of RNG. That's not you fucking up. That's not skill. RNG doesn't involve skill. That's not you fucking up. That's RNG. That's the game doing its thing. Come on, y'all, please. Uh I don't know if you were joking or not. How you react to and mitigate RNG is skill. Okay, y'all. Um Ziad, where are you at, bro? Are you did I add you on Discord? Um Did I add or chat me on Discord? Um, bruh, if RNG wipes your part, let me say this: there's an RNG in Strange Journey that literally will just wipe your whole fucking party. How the fuck do you react to that? Your party's gone. There's nothing to react to. You know what I'm saying? Like you can that's what I'm so here's the thing, y'all. You gotta I don't want I hope y'all aren't being bad faith in like some of these points. Level your evasion stat, player. So when I say skill, like when I say you can read a guide and not fuck up in an RPG, to say that like you can still fuck up because of RNG, right? So that is you fucking up. Okay, Burgundy. So what if the guide says that, but it's not true that but it's not true that there's nothing you can do to account for them. What if the guide tells you that like, oh, the boss might do this, so do this? That's what I mean. That's what I mean by you can't fuck up. Like if you read a guide in an RPG, assuming the guide also accounts for the RNG shit. You know, with a fighting game, right? Someone can tell you like, okay, I'm gonna give a simple ass example. We know about critical hits. Critical hits are RNG. If a guide tells you make sure you bring potions so that like, you know, you don't have a critical hit, there's not so that you can heal in case there's a critical hit. There's no way you can fuck that up. There's no way you can like, oh, I missed pressing A on the potion. You know, like that's what I mean by like you can't fuck up, because there's nothing like within these moment to moment things that you have to account if you're reading a guide. With action games, you can fuck up because like your reflexes might be off. Like there's these little moment to moment things that like you have to consistently be on top of. Your reactions have to be correct. Like you can fuck up because of human error. You know, pressing A on a potion after a critical hit, like there's no way you can fuck that up. That's what I mean by like, by the way, I still think RPGs have skill, but I'm trying to express the difference between skill. Madruga, what if the guide tells you not to do that? You can fuck up by letting the character be in kill range by betting on a critical hit not happening in that case. What if the guide tells you that? Y'all, this is what I mean by you can't fuck up. Like, a guide isn't telling you to bring potions, Burgundy? Okay, man. Bro. Burgundy. A guide isn't telling you to not. Okay, yeah, Zia, let me get you in here, bro. Y'all are being bad faith.
What's going on, people?
Yeah, what's up?
Hello, I'm on my iPad because I'm really lazy. I hope I sound okay.
Yeah. You sound good on my end.
Cool. The RNG derail, I did not expect. This is insane. Should I slide in on that, or
Yeah. Okay, what are your thoughts on the RNG thing happening right now?
so I'm not like a stochastics expert, but I want to argue that okay, most enemies they sort of go through patterns. They're very pattern based. RNG is always, again, obviously determined by some kind of percentage. Most players will experience a similar amount of RNG, like in any given fight or across the playthrough.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's really that dynamic. And I think in general, most of the time, it sort of boils down in a way where it's okay, if I get the one miss in this fight, I'll have to heal after it. And it doesn't actually throw that hard of a wrench into things. I think it's a pretty weak way. It's this attempt from RPGs to make things a little more dynamic, but it's, I think, a pretty weak way of doing that, usually.
Yeah. Now, what by the way, that's the quick that's a quick on the RNG thing. That's just quick on the RNG thing. I'll say this because we're just talking about guides, right? And I'm a address what Burgundy's saying. The guide isn't looking at your 135 health character and telling you a crit will kill them. That's a decision you have to make, judge off of what previous attacks have done and the like. Yes, correct. But I thought the argument was that RNG itself, like the critical hit happening, right? Is how you can fuck up. Right? It's like the RNG happening in the first place is how you can fuck up. Right? That's not you fucking up in that moment. And what you do after that, I'll give you that, Burgundy, because I'm not stubborn, right? I'll give you that. What you do after that, a guide might not know the exact number, right? But I think to say that like RNG is like skill in and of itself, Ashes, the reason we're talking about guides is because I'm trying to address the difference in how skill happens with RPGs and how skill applies to real-time games. Fighting games can give you guides, but you still have to like do that shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? You still have to be able to input that shit. You know, a guide isn't going to teach you how to react. It can't do that. You have to react. You have to know. You have to be fast enough. With turn-based RPG guides, you're just, hey, press A, do this, do that. Yeah. But
copy my homework, but don't make it too obvious.
yeah, exactly. I just think it's reductive to say that a guide will solve an RPG when like the act of playing one and the divergence in people's okay, let me ask you this, Burgundy, because I've budged on some of your points. Do you think an RPG guide will solve a game more than a real-time game a guide would solve a game? And then we'll go back to the main topic. Do you think an RPG guide could get you through more of an RPG than a real-time guide would? Okay, cool. As long as you can see that, cool. That's fair. That's fair. We can meet in the middle there. You know, find some common ground. Now, Ziad, what's your definition of grinding?
I posted my sort of very vague, broad definition earlier, which is that repeating content to gain a mechanical advantage.
Yeah.
So could be resources, could be XP, could be items, whatever. And a lot of RPGs, they tend to have what I call disposable encounters. So it's like, 3 slimes, 4 slimes, 6 dinosaurs. And it's not like it's not like an action game where they put that shit very specifically at a specific position in a level and like interacts with the environment and all that stuff. No, it's this thing that is very much designed to be repeatable.
Yes.
So those things usually go hand in hand.
Yeah, for sure.
I think a lot of the sort of caveats that you throw in, your example with, okay, if I just happen to fight the same bird on the way to a thing, is that still grinding? I don't know. I guess under my definition, it sort of is, because you're repeating a thing you already did.
Yeah.
And yeah.
What do you feel about it? But okay, what do you feel about, because I'm not sure about this argument, the people that say, okay, but when you get to the next bird, your resources are different. Like, you know, when you fought the first bird, you had full health, and then when you fought the second bird, you had like half your health or something.
I think in most RPGs, that is sort of a weak way to. I think most RPGs don't really leverage that. I think it takes. I remember Persona 5 was kind of interesting, because obviously in those games you have an incentive to stay in the dungeon as long as possible, because you don't want to waste calendar days.
Yeah.
So you have an incentive to push past the points where you're out of MP. Until you're out of MP, the fights are all basically the same. And that does take a long time. And after that point, you can do some funky stuff. But I do think so many of the stats, relationships, resources are relatively proportional. It's really hard to get to a point where it actually gets a little dynamic, I'd say.
Yeah.
I guess I also want to throw in really quick. This sounds unfair, right? But a real-time action game just has so many more tools to make an encounter not exactly the same thing anymore, right?
Yes,
because you have positioning and all that, and you have 3D space or even 2D space, if you put a guy in a slightly different position, that's already technically not the same thing anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas if I'm fighting the bird in the turn-based RPG, it's always going to be the exact same thing.
Yes. Yeah. And here's one thing I will say about the resources argument, because the other thing too is that we're also, I think everyone agreed that the definition of grinding is when you go out of your way to repeat content to level up, right? But now I'm also trying to see how that idea can coexist with the fact that, with some people saying that the encounter is technically different if you have less HP for each one. So if I go out of my way to grind like 3 more birds, are we now saying that like all 3 of those encounters are different just because my HP went down a little?
That's what the chat seems to be saying.
But yeah, I would, or like no, but here's the thing. I wouldn't disagree with that if we're doing the really high level philosophical, well, actually argument, right? Like, it's a different encounter, but I just want to give the human, like, in practice, regular person perspective on this. Does it really feel different? Even if we're saying like, let's say you get stuck on a boss, it's like, oh, the boss is too hard. Let me go back and grind 5 birds because, you know, I need to beat this boss. Are we honestly saying going back to fight those 5 birds is fun or is like dynamic? Like it feels dynamic.
Yeah, my position is that it's just not. I guess a turn-based RPG just doesn't have as many tools to leverage to make a repeat encounter dynamic than an action game would.
Yeah.
Like, if we're saying the resources are the way that becomes different and dynamic, that's way less dynamic than, let's say, alien soldier or something, it puts 5 more holes in the floor that it could fall into and get damaged.
Right.
That's already more dynamic, even if I'm fighting the same guy.
Yeah. So I'd say like, yes, it's technically dynamic, but it's just like everything in games is technically dynamic. You know what I'm saying? Like, for the most part, most games are dynamic, but I don't think we're saying like, oh, it's not dynamic at all. I think we're talking about, like you said, the degree to which it is. Like,
Yes.
where like, how dynamic is that? Like, is just fighting, if you here's to give a, I think we're being reductive about how simple RPGs can be and how we're being reductive because we have to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? We can't give I wish we could, but to communicate these ideas, I have to say, like, fighting a bird and then fighting another bird with less HP. Just to get to the point quickly, I can't give all the nuances of like these other things, you know. Burgundy. I even said this at the beginning. I'm not even talking about action games, like in terms of like Devil May Cry Bayonetta. I'm talking about anything that happens in real time. I'm talking about like Splatoon. I'm talking about Lumines. I'm talking about anything that happens in real time. I don't even play Devil May Cry. That's one of my gaming gaps. Yeah. Don't get on me. Don't get on me.
We'll get you there.
DMC bird Jalen, what up? In regards to the point of mitigating RNG or stat variance, we have to talk about how developer points players into different forms of skill. Most RPGs, the majority of players will find what works for them and continue doing it. And dev metrics will generally show players playing in similar way. Jalen, I'm glad you said this. I'm glad you said this because, yes, we can get super philosophical about how, you know, fighting 3 birds is technically dynamic because I have to like conserve my MP or my HP or whatever. I want to bring us back down to how regular people think, though, or how these things like, or how these things.
I'm with the host scaring. Okay.
Yeah. We have to bring these things back down to like how these things feel in practice, or like how effective they are. Like you said, most RPGs, the majority of players will find what works for them and continue doing it. And dev metrics will generally show players playing in similar ways. That's kind of what I'm trying to get at here. Is it working? We can talk about how it's technically like correct, you know what I mean? But is it working? How does it feel? You know?
Guys, you don't get it. When I hit the second Jack Frost with the fire, it was like really different, guys. It was like so different.
Bro,
I'm trying to make the chat hate me.
Don't do that. No. But yo, that. So, I'm gonna give an example from a different like medium. From a different medium, because we talk about sometimes with music how like playing like some people can technically sing right, some people can technically play the drums correctly, but they're doing it they're so obsessed with like, yeah, it's correct, that they're not doing what feels good, what feels right. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes you got to get out of like, yeah, it's correct, and start talking about like, yeah, but is it fun? That's why like a lot of the people, when I made those tweets yesterday about Metaphor, people were on my ass about like, yeah, you know, you should have just did this, you know, they expect. Okay, I know what to do, but the boss is long as shit and it's not fun. So talk about that. Like, I know the solution. I know what they want me to do. Tell me why that's fun to you. You know I have to kill 5 birds, you know, and then last for this amount of turns. But why? Tell me why you enjoy that. Let's talk about that, and then we go from there. Go on, Ziad. What you got?
So I want to bring in a really radical example.
Yeah.
So there's this YouTuber. His name is Donkey, and he has a review for this game called Dragon Quest XI.
Yeah.
And in the review, he talks about how for most of the game, he would fight every new enemy once and then just run past it whenever he sees it again. And for most of the game, that playstyle was valid. He was getting through all the challenges fine. And then at some point, the game started tightening shit up, and he actually had to go back and grind. And I think RPG fans then have the very common reflex to say, oh, you just played the game wrong, blah, blah, right? And I guess I want to sort of question, is it good that the game invalidated his playstyle like that? Like, what is the point of making him go back to do that when he's not really doing anything different? He's not having fun. It's not really a decision. The only decision there is how much time am I spending on repeating stuff.
Yeah.
I know that's a really extreme example, but I sort of agree with that philosophy, to be honest.
Azimil said, would the alternative be forced encounters? Yeah. No, or no. Let me roll that back. I think the alternative would be, like, I keep bringing up Xenoblade, but the way Xenoblade does it just makes, it's the closest to making sense to me, of like, yeah, just give a lot of EXP for new encounters or for different encounters, and then give way less incentive to repeat shit. So much so that, like, it's obvious. And like I said, Xenoblade gives you EXP for, like, getting to a new area. It gives you EXP for, like, obviously side quests. There's so many different ways to, like, level up in Xenoblade that, like, it's hard to argue that, like, oh, you're repeating shit. That's really what we're talking about. It's just like Xenoblade makes more sense for open worlds, not so much for linear games.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say if the game is linear, forced encounters is something to consider. I'm gonna go crazy.
I guess I want to ask very fundamentally, what is the purpose of the leveling system in any given game? I think
the fantasy.
When there's no
the fantasy.
Oh, the fantasy of, like, sort of growing a character. I think I can get that. Personally, that's something that doesn't really appeal to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think for me is, like, if there's no decision involved in it, if I can infinitely grind a thing to get advantages, for me that creates a lot of problems. I don't like. I think that's something you got at with the metaphor example as well, where it inherently introduces ambiguity to how much of this is skill, how much of this is just grinding. Yeah. I think you even mentioned that you had to learn that you didn't want to over level in RPGs.
Yes, yeah.
And I guess I'm asking, why do I have to worry about that? What is the point of that? Like, can there not just be a tight difficulty curve? If that's all the leveling system is doing, make the game easier or harder, there's other ways to do that, you know?
Yeah.
And I think if the leveling system is just an excuse to make you repetitively fight random enemies, I don't think that's a good way to do that.
Yeah. Firmament said, and this is something I kind of agree with, because that's kind of my issue with this, is that I don't go. I said this when I started Metaphor. Firmament says, I think this conversation would be a lot more productive if RPG fans weren't trying to vehemently argue them being very differently hardcore skill-based games. That's kind of my thing, is that if we shift the conversation to RPGs being more about the fantasy or like the role playing of just like, hey, giving you the opportunity to just role play doing this shit, I think that would be easier to like argue why certain things are important, or like or arguing, like you said, what's you were saying, what's the point of doing XYZ? If it's more about like, yeah, because that's the fantasy of growing. Sometimes you got to do the same shit over and over again. Like, then you could just be like, okay, you know. But when it's more about like the, I don't know, the skill aspect or the meta, then that's when it gets like hard. I'm not saying like someone shouldn't try to argue, but it just gets harder to argue it, you know.
Yeah, I guess what I was trying to get at with the donkey example as well is like when your response is, oh, you played the game wrong by playing it in the way that you found enjoyable. Like, what are we trying to do here? What's the consensus that we're trying to reach? I feel like that's I feel like there's no, the first instinct is to defend the thing rather than try to understand the thing first.
Yeah, that's honestly, Juliet, thanks for the follow. That's honestly my perspective. I'm not gonna say RPGs are enjoyed from the feeling of getting better. It's growth for me, and that's why. Oh, yeah. Burgundy, by the way, message me on Discord if you wanna, because Burgundy said he wants to talk to you, Zia.
Okay, I'm down.
Yeah, when the turn just got back and was, what did I miss? Sum it up. We're trying to ask if grinding and like repeating encounters is fun. That's kind of, someone was asking me to summarize what's being talked about. Yeah, so that's what we're talking about. Is like,
how do we fix the 3 birds?
By the way, I'm gonna say this. I'm not saying that like RPG, like I said, RPGs have some level of skill involved. Like, I think boss fights in RPG or even like when you first go to an encounter, there's skill involved because you're trying to figure out like, oh, how do I beat this thing? It's puzzle solving. I think that part is skill, but I'm talking about like when you know the answer to the puzzle and then the numbers just get in the way. I'm not sure. That's the part I'm talking about. Like, isn't really skill, in my opinion.
I can say, I'm playing Metaphor on hard. I'm not very far in yet. I beat the first dungeon, and the boss of that dungeon, I had to do a couple attempts to sort of figure out a good strategy. There was the synergy skill, I think, with Stroll as the warrior. Yeah. Where he does like severe physical damage. And I knew, okay, if I can get that shit out I'll beat the boss in like 3 turns. And then just figuring out the perfect sequence for that. That was really fun.
Yes, I think it is. Yes.
Where RPGs kind of are at their best. And you don't need a leveling system for that.
Thank you. That's exactly, as much as I, bash this game, Xenosaga 1 was not very, I won't say it's the best game ever at this, but for the most part, Xenosaga 1 is almost a boss rush game. Xenosaga 1 is almost, because like once you fight, like there's different enemies in like different sections of the map, right? And then once you fight those enemies, the game scales your EXP super hard. If you do it, if you fight them again, it scales it super hard. And by the time you get, so pretty much the game communicates to you that like it's almost what you said about the donkey example of like Xenosaga 1 really is almost like, yeah, you should just do these things once and move on. Like, and if you go back to the same place and fight the same enemy again, you're wasting your time. Like, because once you get to those bosses, I tried grinding and I was like, damn, I'm barely getting any like EXP. Like, I'm not. So that's telling me like, okay, go back to the boss and figure some shit out. You know, I feel like if turn-based RPGs leaned more into like the just figuring out the puzzle thing and just said like, just make it a boss on some boss rush shit. I don't know.
That was not on my radar.
Yeah.
I may have to hop on.
Yeah, Xenosaga 1, like I said, but by the way, Xenosaga 1 still has some problems. I still have some problems. I'm not saying that's a great game, but that part of the game was I was like, oh, okay. Like, that was cool. Like, if you figured out the boss and it's not letting me cast because I'm too weak, maybe you haven't figured out the boss. So if I have a nah.
Oh, sorry, that's exactly it though, because like like when you introduce the leveling system, and I know it can infinitely grind, it makes that question so much more ambiguous. You know,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
I don't like the fact that wrench even exists. Is this extra thing I have to worry about, and I can't just focus on the strategy. Yeah.
Yeah. There are cases where the numbers just make it impossible to win, but they're pretty rare from what I know. I wouldn't say they're rare. I guess that's what we're arguing is like how often that happens. Like if I have a Squirtle and I get to the first gym in Pokemon, which is like the rock gym, and because I only fought every Pidgey once, I'm barely doing any damage to the Onix, and then I go back, fight 3 Pidgeys, and now I'm able to beat the Onix. You're saying like that? You're saying that that's like I didn't figure out the boss, even though I'm just doing the same moves?
See, Burgundy, what I'm saying is, why does it have to be there in the first place? Like, why is that even a point of contention, the leveling system? Like, can we not imagine a version of a game where that question doesn't even exist, and then I can, like, then I know for certain, okay, it's some strategy. Wouldn't that be, I would argue that's a more interesting game, or a more focused, satisfying game.
Okay, yeah, Burgundy said, hold on, let me go back, because you kind of addressed what I was gonna ask him, which is because he said Burgundy, you said you think it's okay to be level gated earlier in the chat. So just answer that. Why is that okay in your opinion? Like what is like interesting about that to you? I'm not asking sarcastically. I want to know. Like what's interesting about being level gated? And hold on. Shalant, I mean, the leveling system is designed to keep strategy. That adds a level of needing to adapt to you can't just make any strategy, because technically any strategy works if you're high level enough. It's all about.
Well, but you could have the same thing by just having a tight difficulty curve, yeah, with no leveling system.
Yeah. Yeah, you can just make it yeah. I don't know. Low level runs, I guess.
Because then, like, let's say a hypothetical turn-based game that has no leveling system, no stats, and you have easy, normal, hard, and then based on the difficulty, it basically just changes the number of turns you have to do a thing, the number of turns you have to beat a boss, the number of allowances, mistakes you can make. Like, it's basically the same thing as the leveling system, just without the grinding. Yeah. That's not that hard to imagine, I think.
Yeah. Um. Didn't didn't Xenoblade 2 do something like that with the I don't know who's played Xenoblade 2 here, but y'all remember Xenoblade 2 did that thing? They had that DLC where they let you just like change the monsters like levels and shit. Do y'all remember that? Where they were like
Mm,
you can just change the monsters like they had a thing where it was like you could go into the menu and just like change the monster's stats and something like that. I forgot what exactly it was, but it was like you could highly customize the difficulty. Hold on, let me hold on.
Burgundy. My argument is that I don't find the other type or the common type of leveling system appealing in RPGs.
Let me see.
And like you're right. Like you have stuff like Breath of Fire 5, which is a very interesting game.
I started a new call. Hold on. Y'all here?
Was
Yes,
good?
sir.
Wait, okay. You can hear me?
Yeah. Okay, Burgundy. I wanted to ask you, but first of all, how you doing, man?
What's good? What's good? I'm doing pretty good actually.
Yeah.
Day started off kind of shit, but it's definitely looking up a lot. Yeah, it's looking like a chill night.
Yeah. So I wanted to
Also,
ask you
hi, Ziad.
specific. Oh yeah, he asked you how you're doing, Ziad.
I'm doing great, thank you.
I don't know if your mic is loud enough. Say
Oh,
something again.
Wait,
Not Ziad. Burgundy.
yeah. Is this coming through?
Yeah. But okay, I want to ask you specifically. What you said is okay to be level gated, right?
Yeah.
What specifically about it do you find fun or interesting?
I mean, okay. When I say it's okay to be level gated, I mean I think it's okay for there to be certain thresholds at which simple strategy is not going to be enough to overcome it. I don't think that that's something that should always be the case. I don't think you should be like running into a wall like that every single boss fight. But I mean, it's kind of nebulous. It depends on a case by case basis. For more, I guess, story relevant bosses or for more intense moments, I think there are points where a game can like take the kid gloves off and say, you need to be at least this strong, or if you're not like in about this ballpark of like strength in terms of I don't know, like leveling, like you either have to be geared up well enough, you've got to approach it in a unique enough way, you got to have like a certain strategy that lets you overcome that deficit, something along those lines. I think that choices like that are fine. Like Ziad mentioned, the donkey like playing Dragon Quest 11 and basically being able to get through most of the game, like just doing a handful of encounters.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of them at some point the game was like, okay, like you do need to be stronger than this, and he had to go back and do a bit of grinding. I think that kind of thing is fine.
Well, but okay,
Like
but
it's
why?
yeah.
Why? But why? Like I'm trying to. I know you know it's fine, but what is the like fun? What do you find fun about it?
I mean, because the way we're talking about this, it's like I think being asked to engage with the game more to be able to, meet certain thresholds, I think that's fine. I think if the game is like you need to be a little bit more level, that just means like, you need to fight a couple more things, like engage with more, like go out, do a couple of side quests. Maybe it's not even a matter of leveling. Maybe it's a matter of if you go and get some more equipment, do like I said, either do some side quests or do a little bit of exploring to get better equipment. Maybe there's a really strong piece of equipment, a really strong sword, really strong gear, something you can kit out your party member with that'll make it so that you can overcome the deficit, stuff like that. Stuff that makes you engage with the game and what's on offer there rather than just going forward straightwards. Because, like, yeah, there's a certain level of forward momentum that I think is healthy, but then there's a certain amount of you should stop and smell the roses, and there's like engaging with what's happening is kind of the least you can do when you're playing a game.
What if you go back and there wasn't much to engage with though? Like, what if it is just 5 birds?
If it is just 5 birds, then I think that is a poorly designed RPG, and I think that's a different conversation to have.
Okay.
But I think that's fine. Like, it's just RPGs can be designed poorly. I think like maybe like you have this idea that I'm some sort of hard line, like, oh, I love going back and grinding like 50 bare asses. Like, that's not what I'm saying, and I don't enjoy that.
Right.
What I'm saying is that
yes.
like it's a different. That's not like. This whole thing about grinding, it's this nebulous space where we're talking about it as sort of an inherent, and I think it's a bit more on a case-by-case basis. There are certain things that certain people are going to be more okay with, that other people are going to be less so, and it really is more of a failing of a game to engage somebody than it is, I guess, like an inherent with the genre. I think you can do things badly. Like, you can have bad side content, you can have bad level curves.
Okay, for sure. And then the next thing I'm going to ask you is, what if someone was engaging with the game on their way to that wall?
If somebody is like, okay, so if you're like fighting things, engaging with the game, like keeping up with things, and you hit a sheer wall, again, I think that could be a sign of poor design, depending on like if it's a tough part of the game, if it's like a big climactic point or something like that, then I don't know. Like, this is all super nebulous generally.
No, for sure. But
it could be bad. Like, yeah, it could just
okay.
It could
all
right.
So that's kind of where I wanted to at least get that foundation. So then the next thing I want to ask you is, if you had to give a percentage, just a percentage of RPGs that you think, the answer is to just go back and fight 5 birds, or that, like the second question I asked you, that you could be engaging with the game and then you still hit a wall for some reason, like still hit a numbers wall. How often do you think that happens, if you had to give like a percentage?
Like, for me personally?
No, if you had to guess, like, even if it's not, if you had to guess what percentage of RPGs this happens with, that you, like you said, that are poorly designed.
Think slightly less than most people think.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I think nowadays it is growing increasingly rarer. I think RPGs nowadays, on the whole, tend towards respecting your time a lot more, where they do allow strategies. Like, I mean, like we were just, again, going back to Dragon Quest XI, that's a game where, yeah, you would be able to, fighting like very little of what's along the way and being able to, you know, for the most part, get through. I think most RPGs nowadays are in line with that, besides, like, you know, like the rare ones made for freaks that kind of wear that on their sleeve. Or like, you know, occasional examples. And yeah, like Ash has mentioned in the chat, yeah, it definitely does happen a lot more in older RPGs, I think.
Yeah.
For me, it almost feels like we're shadow boxing with like RPGs from the 90s, because like this is definitely...
Wait. Have you played Strange Journey?
I have. I still need to finish it. It's
that game is 100%. That
like
game 100% walls you. Yeah. Like, but like you said, but you said you would count that as a game for freaks.
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. Congratulations, you freak.
Yeah. Zia, what you got?
Yeah. First of all, sorry I didn't respond earlier. I think my mic wasn't working. I had to rejoin the call. I wasn't ignoring you.
You're fine. I was on the road.
Yeah, I guess I see your point about, okay, you're finding ways to make the player engage with the game more generally, more holistically. I think that is fair. The thing about leveling systems and grinding as a concept is that the only thing that will make you do is repeat encounters. If you think about it, under the definition of what grinding is, right? And you know, to take Donkey again as an example, all the tightening of the difficulty curve made him do is fight more of the same enemies, and that did not make the game more fun for him, right? And I feel like, again, I was saying earlier, you could imagine a version of those comment systems with the ambiguity of stats and leveling, all that stripped out, and just have a difficulty select or something, and then the game is just more or less forgiving. But it would sort of work roughly the same way. I think that specifically, I'm still not convinced there's a great reason for having it, other than, okay, you want to make the player feel a sense of growth or a sense of intimidation that is sort of artificial, you know?
It's
That's kind of where I'm at.
Bro, with games, like, but yeah.
No, what'd you say, Burgundy?
I was saying it's all artificial, bro. It's games. It's video games.
Well, I was saying artificial sense of growth, right? You can have a sense of growth from like learning a skill in a game, like in a fighting game or an action game. And I'm not gonna say that RPGs can provide that, but the leveling system, you could interpret it as a way of providing that artificially. I think that is more artificial than, oh, I learned how to press the buttons better in like Street Fighter or something.
I mean, I guess.
Burgundy, let me ask you something.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on MMOs?
You're gonna have to narrow it down. I mean, like
have you played
Final?
Exactly? Have you played Final Fantasy 14?
I have not, because that will be the final game I ever play. So it's for later down the line.
No, okay. So when Realm Reborn came out, I was obsessed with that game. Matter of fact, I can't play. That game made me stop playing MMOs. Because I was just obsessed. But so I think I'm gonna say right now, and I think anyone in the chat who plays FF14 will probably agree that FF14 is 100% grindy. And I think the thing I'm kind of getting at here is, and by the way, FF14 though isn't turn based, but so that's kind of a different conversation in and of itself too, because it's not even like
I mean,
the encounters yeah. So I think the only thing I agree, I'm gonna say this. Your point about going back to force the player to engage, I agree with that. But I think the thing is that in something like FF14 or even RPGs in general, right? Let's talk about side quests. How do you feel about side quest design right now in 2024? Do you feel like side quests are still, let me instead of asking you, I'm going to say this. I feel like even something like side quest right now in 2024 are still, for the most part, go out and kill 5 snails. I'm going to change the animal because we've been talking about birds for too long. But
snails have had it too good for too long.
Yeah. But go out and fight 5 snails, and just the story is different. It's like, oh, you got to fight 5 snails because we're going to cook them, or you got to fight 5 snails because I need them for research this time. So I think the only thing I would disagree with you on is that we're at a point with RPGs where the thing that they make you go back to engage with feels like, oh, I'm doing something cool now because this boss walled me out. I think the premise of what you're saying in theory is like, okay, agreed. But I'm not sure, like you're saying that, like, I'm not sure we're at a point where turn-based RPGs specifically, because action games kind of have this kind of like privilege, right? Of like, yeah, you know, it's action, so you're always going to be kind of doing something dynamic. But turn-based RPGs don't have that privilege of like being able to change it enough to where like it feels like, okay, I got to do this side quest, and oh, I'm just fighting 5 snails. Okay, all right, cool. I guess so. So do you feel like you feel like RPGs have enough of that, or do you feel we're past that point of like side quests being side quests good now? Is the side content like actually like well designed?
I mean, not to come off like a flake, but I do think it depends. I think,
Okay.
yeah, there's a lot of disposable side content in games nowadays. There's a lot of repeatable stuff that isn't really engaging on its own merits. But okay, so what I would say is, I think one of the biggest things it depends on is just the nature of the game itself, in the sense that if it's an RPG that's fun, if I have fun with the combat system and combat encounters, it definitely feels a lot less like it's a grind or like it's a pain in the ass to do.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it doesn't feel like a grind. We could make it a semantic case whether or not it is or isn't.
Yeah.
If it's just like, if battles are fun, I don't feel like if I get to the point where I'm not having fun with battles, like for me, I generally see that as a fault of the game itself, and it's more representative of a systematic issue,
and
like,
not like the genre, right?
Yeah, it's not the genre. It's not the fact that I'm doing too many. If I feel like I'm doing too many fights and that I need to do too many fights to make it through the game, like at a reasonable pace, then that's a problem.
With the game,
a lot of the time, I will. If I'm playing, like, say, I just finished a playthrough of, just like I said, it wasn't like a couple of months ago, but I beat a Persona 3 Fez a couple of months back, and there are a lot of parts where I stopped what I was doing and just like, my goal was grinding out, getting specific fusions, like getting like super powerful Persona, figuring out, okay, so I'm trying to fuse up to this, so I need to be at this level. So that'll be my goal for the month. And then like, it'll also color what I'm doing in terms of what social links I'm hanging out with, stuff like that. And then there are parts where I'll just be like, oh, I don't need to give a shit about any of this. And I'll just brute force bulldoze through the story because I'm just interested in seeing what happens next. Yeah. And the parts where I was bulldozing through, I was very rarely gated. Like, well, no, just never. There was never a point where I felt like I needed to stop and just like, make up time. But then that's partially because there was times that I was just playing the game, like I was going out, I was fighting birds, right? Not because I needed to, but just for love of the game, right? And also because fuck those birds. But it really does speak specifically to just on a general basis, like if I'm having fun with it, it's not grinding. If I'm not having fun with it, it's grinding. It's not fun.
I mean, and
if it's something I need to do,
for sure. I honestly, the main thing I wanted to make sure of is that we're not being dogmatic about, and I'm glad you said that, because
I'm being dogmatic. Fuck up.
I'll be dogmatic.
No. Because I'll even throw you a bone here, man. I'd even go further and say that sometimes a side quest can be 5 snails, but the story just makes it cool. Like something like something about the story, the context of like the 5 snails is just cooler. Like it's just like, oh, okay, like I'm fighting 5 snails because like this is gonna change this person into a snail man or something.
Bird.
We're fighting the snail so that the birds can win the inter-bird snail conflict.
Yeah. So I'll take it. I'll take it.
The birds now.
Yeah. So I'll even throw you a bone there in that aspect, and that I don't even think for side quest the gameplay always has to be the best, right? But my thing is like I don't even think a lot of side quests are that. I think it's like I even have, so that's what I'm trying to say here is like I by the way, right now y'all, what y'all are witnessing is like the law route of JRPGs, which is Burgundy, and then I'm the neutral route, and then Zion is the chaos route.
Yes, sir.
Cause like I'm gonna give you the wiggle room and say like, yeah, I don't need the side quest to be like some crazy dynamic super like I don't need to like I think some of the greatest side quests ever made are in Tears of the Kingdom. I don't need it to be that. I don't need it to be every side quest feels like its own game. It feels like its own thing. Like I'm not even saying you got to do that. But what I'm saying is like I think a lot of side content is just, I need a favor. Can you go do this for me right quick, bruh? Like, and so that's kind of what I'm getting at with the grinding thing is like, I'm not sure how much of it is fun in terms of like what we're seeing in the genre right now. Granted, I haven't played, I'm kind of behind on RPGs these days, to be fair. So I don't know. Like, what are some recent RPGs you've played, Burgundy?
Oh, don't make me answer that question. I have an extremely embarrassing answer to that question.
What happened?
It's just don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Okay. The RPG I have probably been playing the most because it is very simple to keep up with on a regular basis is Honkai Star Rail.
Oh, that's even worse than what I said. Oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah. Besides that, I was playing.
I thought, bro, Burgundy.
I respect the vulnerability.
We're not gonna move on from this. That's fine too.
No, Burgundy. It's also interesting that I'm wearing a burgundy thing right now. It's just like you're the main character for today. But bro, like
the clips in the chat turning on me. I thought we had some.
Like I thought Burgundy, I'm sorry, bro. I thought you were gonna say some avant-garde, like super quirky, like Omori type shit or something, or like something that like some obscure indie thing that like really redefines and innovates on the turn-based, like, bro, Honkai.
No, like
the way you were talking, I thought you were playing something like. I thought you were playing something else. Like you giving these great like reasonings, like like the final boss, like they got to make it go back and engage. You got to da 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 like, and this dude playing Honkai, man, like.
Like too much on me.
Dog.
Look, if I was playing something really strong, I wouldn't have been ashamed of that. All right. Look, the first step is admitting you have a problem. Like I said, I'm waiting on. They're gonna look. You don't understand, man. You know how these games work, all right? So you know when they release like a dude character, like it's once in a blue moon. It's mostly just.
And then you get the girls. Ooh.
No, listen, I'm here for the guy. Like, there's that mid girl that everybody loves who she's like really good in the meta or whatever. But like, I don't care about her. I'm here for the dude who's like every day should be a weekend.
Zion, stop the
What you mean by that?
Bro.
I'm just taking in the info. I'm just learning.
You just learning. Just yeah.
No, absolutely safe capsule said you should have just said Saga Frontier or Resonance of Fate.
Wait, let me go boot up Resonance of Fate right now.
Dog, okay. I mean, dog, that's cool. That's fine. You know what I'm saying? But honestly,
you don't have to lie to me.
No. It's fine, bro. It's fine. Like, this also shows you like the duality of man also, you know what I mean? Like you can be high level philosophical and still like enjoy enjoy some soda every now and then, or enjoy some junk food every now and then, you know.
Bro, every so often. Here's the thing. You got to have it like every couple of months. And then like if you don't have soda except like every couple of months, then like that shit hits.
No, I got you. I feel you as someone. Mr. SU, we can't have 4 people on the call, man. We can't have 4 people on the call, man. Like, but
Next time.
I don't know. In general though, y'all got anything else on grinding?
I have a little thing on side quests.
Oh yeah, go on.
Yeah, GK, I think we talked about this on Twitter actually. The way we put it sort of ultimately was that a lot of games now try to copy the structure of Western RPGs.
Yes.
But then their only fleshed out gameplay system is combat. The
There
only
you go,
thing they
yeah.
can really do in side quests is make you fight a bunch of guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then usually the combat system is not like, it's not complex the way an action game is kind of complex, where the positioning super matters. It's like so different because I'm in a different location. It's usually not like that.
Yeah.
That's why I agree with you that the modern Zelda games are a much stronger example of side quests because they just have so much more to play with.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I generally agree that the quality of side quests, with Birdie, what you said, like the quality of side quests definitely matters, but then I think it really hinges on just the fundamental gameplay systems, and I would go as far as to say that usually if it's just repeatable, disposable combat, for me it's not enough.
Yeah. That's why earlier, I'm not sure if you were here when Dilla was on the call, Ziad, but that's why earlier I was talking about Fallout and how and how even stuff like talking to NPCs levels up your intelligence, or picking a lock can upgrade like your whatever the wit stat. I forgot what it was. Your cunning. I don't know what they called it, but yeah, like, and even with Xenoblade, again, like exploring, you get experience for just finding a new area or whatever, like stuff like that. I think RPGs need to play around with a little bit more. I mean, specifically Japanese RPGs need to play around with a little bit more in order to make it not just like go back and do combat again, in a system where the combat isn't really like where it's much more like about being a puzzle based, but I and Burgundy, what else you got on you got anything else to add?
I mean, I think I pretty much hit the major stuff. Like,
yeah.
Just generally my thesis, I'd say, is, like I said, I think games having like repetitive content or like not being balanced well, I think that's a distinct issue from like the presence of being able to grind at all. Because it's like a lot of the time you can't really choose whether or not a player is going to be able to grind. Like some people are just they're gonna want to, fight 50 bears because it's easier to do that. Like we've just talked about, it's easier to do that and then just like bulldoze through the rest of the game than it is to go out and engage with stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And if a game isn't explicitly making that not allowed or not a viable strategy, then it's like, and if it does, like that introduces a whole other bag of worms. So I don't know, like just generally, like I think.
Wait, hold on. Don't move on from that point. No. Stay right there. Stay right there.
Oh wait. What else?
Wait. Yeah. So, what would be wrong with like not making that a viable strategy?
I mean, like that is fine. Also, like I mean, like I said earlier, some RPGs do that. Like
Okay.
You mentioned that. Yeah. Sometimes, like I think. There's room for multitudes in the genre. Some RPGs are going to be like, you can't gain a certain number of levels, like you're very limited in how far you can go. So they're forcing you to, engage more strategically. Or they'll be like, like just go nuts, like it's entirely on you. It's a bit of a sliding scale.
It's like, yeah. I agree. Like, by the way, I'm not like an either or on this thing. I kind of I'm talking in degrees. Like, You know,
That's fair, yeah.
yeah. It's level, like you said. There's levels to it. It's not like the genre is inherently like flawed or anything. But
Yeah.
I just not you specifically, but I just want to make sure that like, especially when I get on Twitter, sometimes I feel like RPG fans probably more than any fan base that I engage with.
Victim
If it,
complex, victim complex. Say it.
yeah, there is a victim complex, but this is what I also want to say. It's like I feel like they don't question anything about the genre sometimes.
Mm,
It's just like, yeah, that's just the way it is. And I'm like, I just want to get more into, I want it to be okay to be like, okay, but why does it have to be that way? You know, that's the only thing I want to push. Whether I'm wrong or not, I just don't like the energy of like, yeah, that's just how it is. That's just how it's supposed to be. Like I feel like other John, there's a lot of like, I'm a fighting game guy, right? And we're there's constant conversations about like whether motion inputs matter or not, and whether that's important for execution, whether it's more about neutral or not, whether it's just like we have more we question the genre more. I feel like we even critique the genre more, like in terms of like, yeah, we need to add more training modes. We need to be more dynamic about training modes and giving players information and all these kinds of things, because information's been hidden for so long, and that's why competition is, I just want us JRPG fans specifically to be more open to being like, why does this have to be that way, without it being like, because I think the thing, and Zia, that feeds into the victim complex thing, is like, I think sometimes when someone who's like me, look at the, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm a fan, you know what I'm saying? Like I like the genre, but I just don't like sometimes when I question the genre. I think people think that I'm one of those people that like, I'm like anti RPG, you know what I'm saying? It's like, no, it's like,
y'all need to focus on me. I'm your enemy.
yeah, that is.
No, I don't think so. I was ready to fight, but I came in here and I think we have more in common.
I'll say
Go on.
I'm sorry that my number one example is Donkey.
Yeah.
But like I do think it is notable that like he said, yeah, I played the game in the way that I thought was fun, and people were like, no, that's wrong, and they didn't have any deeper argument than that. I think you're totally right. There needs to be just a little more critical thinking, a little more fundamental questioning.
Yeah, that's all. Even if your questioning leads to like you thinking it's okay, like not just be like, okay, it's okay to question it, instead of being like, no, you don't know, you don't get the genre, you don't that's what you're supposed to do, like, why are you avoiding fights, like, that's all. It's just like, let's question things and just have it be okay,
You can have a dialogue.
Yeah, for sure. And
Yes.
you brought up some good points too. Y'all got anything else y'all want? Anything else while y'all are here? Because I think wait. What?
Sorry, Eclipse. A great contribution, chat. No, just IMO. You don't even need a reason to like something. Yeah, exactly. Like that sounds so simple, but I think just the intuitive enjoyment is totally valid. As long as you're comfortable and like secure in what you like,
I wish more people would just be like, I was talking about this Japanese street interview that I was watching the other day, and they were and this guy was going around asking people in Japan, in Tokyo. He was like asking them what games they were playing, and majority of the people he was asking, they will be saying stuff like Apex Legends is really big in Japan, by the way. Like a lot of people are saying Apex Legends, but yeah, he was like asking them like, why do you playing this? Like, what are you playing? And they would say stuff like, yeah, I like playing Splatoon because I get to spray ink. Or like, yeah, I like playing Star Fox. One dude said he was playing Star Fox Adventures, and he was like, yeah, I like playing Star Fox because it's really nostalgic. It gives me a nostalgic
awesome.
feel. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's fine. Like, you know, everything doesn't have to be like a justification. Sometimes it can just be like, yeah, someone said, I think Serendipity said it earlier. She was like, the repetition is just relaxing to me. Cool.
Yeah.
But I ain't gonna
think
argue
it's
with that. I
fine.
can't say shit about what I'm gonna say. You shouldn't be relaxed. like I can't say
Listen.
nothing to that. Like shit. I wish more people would be open to that. You know, to just
I
being like,
think,
yeah,
yeah,
I'm
I
just
think we
playing
just
them.
generally, yeah, I think we generally need to come to terms with the fact that a lot of this shit just does come down to preference. Like,
Yeah.
some people enjoy the act of, like, you know, doing sort of repetitive content. Some people enjoy it, some people don't. Some people are very focused on making their way to the end, to the goal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's good that RPGs generally, like, the ideal level of balance is accommodating both of those styles. I
Yeah.
think that for the, like, a lot of the time, the people that want to play like that and the people who want to fight nearly everything or like see all of the things there are to do, you you both of those people are going to beat the game and both of those people are going to have a good time,
Yeah.
and that's good.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
all we
Yeah.
really need.
I'm gonna read through the chat. But y'all, I appreciate y'all coming through, man. This was a good conversation.
Hell yeah.
All right,
This was hella
man.
fun.
Peace.
Thank you for
It's almost enough to make
And it was good to talk to
you
Grindy
are
as
my
well.
mortal enemies because you don't like Persona 3.
Add me to the
Eh,
list. Add me to the list.
yo. All right, y'all.
Take care, guys.
All
Bye,
right.
y'all.
Peace. But okay. Before we go, y'all got any questions? Y'all got any top quick hits? Quick topics you want me to bring up? Anything you want me to watch? King Jai was good. This is my first stream, and to answer the question, Grindy constantly fighting small enemies using the same moves that are guaranteed to kill. Sue Take, what up, man? I missed some of y'all. We were kind of deep in conversation. Shalant, I think the internet makes people just naturally feel the need to defend whatever they enjoy as if they got to validate to others. It's weird. Yes, exactly, Shalant. Exactly. Ashes in the hourglass. So if someone just plays DMC by spamming Stinger because they think that's fun, but when they whine, is that scenario not the same? Playing the way you think is fun can be impractical with the design of a game. Let me think. So if someone just plays by spamming Stinger because they think that's fun. But the way you think can be impractical with the design of a game. Yeah, that's true. That's correct. So they just don't like the game then. They just don't like the game. If they want to spam Stinger all the time, then they just don't like the game. They can and then they'd have to explain why they don't like the game. But that's their prerogative. You know what I'm saying? At that point, they just have to, if we're trying to have a conversation about it, then yeah, I can ask them why and they tell me their reasoning and we go from there. But if they say they just want to spam Stinger all the time and then they no longer can do it and they're not having fun, shit. What am I gonna say? Just okay, you don't like the game. The thing is that the thing we're talking about though, that we were talking about, is that I'm explaining why I don't like those things. It's the explanation afterwards that you got to get into, not like not enjoying it part. Everyone can not enjoy something. It's not a sin, you know. Serendipity It's because all the experimentation for RPGs branches off into its own thing. Oh, are y'all on Blue Sky? Yeah, I mean, I agree. Ashes, I agree. There's no conversation in that scenario because they stubbornly refuse to engage with the game. At least for me, that's a roadblock that just leads nowhere. No, for sure. I agree. There's no conversation there, but they don't have to. What I'm saying is like they don't have to have a conversation about it. They can just be like, "Yeah, I don't like it," and then move on. Now, if they tell me they want to have a conversation about it, that's when it becomes that's when the issue comes in. It's like when the conversation starts. But if they're just refusing to engage, what I'm gonna do? You can't force nobody to engage with the game. You can't do shit about that. But that's the thing. Enjoyment and discussion are two different things. Everyone who don't like something ain't trying to have a conversation about it. Everybody who enjoys something ain't trying to have a conversation about it. Some people are just like, "Oh, I don't like this." They ain't asking you to agree with them on liking it. They just telling you I don't like it. They're moving on. I know, like sometimes I'll play games with my girl or something, and she'll do. She's not a gamer, but she'll do certain things that like don't make sense, and I'm like, no, sit. You gotta. You're supposed. And she's like, I don't want to do that. I'm not gonna tell her like. I'm gonna be like, oh, okay. She's like, I don't want to play this no more. Okay. It's like Ashes. The better example would be like, I like using fighting games because that's my genre. There's people in fighting games who just don't want to block. They just don't want to block. And they keep losing. And they're like, or there's people, I don't know if you've seen Scrub quotes, but there's people who are like, this game with KOF is just long ass combos I can't get out of. And they never block high, never block low. They don't want to block. I'm like, shit, okay, you don't want to block. All right. Cool. I ain't gonna. Now, if you tell me, like, if you start trying to talk to me about it, Ashes, Donkey is fair game. Donkey is fair game. I'm talking about random person that's just saying I don't like something. Okay, but using the Donkey example, he's using experience as if there's a nuance in that he just doesn't want to play the game by his rules. Yeah, Ashes, and you can talk to Donkey about that. So Donkey is fair game. I don't agree with I think Ziad was using that. He's gonna talk to you about that, but yeah. I didn't pay $70 just to block. Might pick up the Power Rangers game. Yeah, King Jai the Lazy. Yeah, I played King of Fighters 15. I'm about to go back now that I finished Metaphor. So yeah. Y'all got any funny videos? There's a point in every video game experience where someone has to admit to themselves they simply bought something they simply don't vibe with. Yeah. Sometimes you just don't like the game. That's it. But Anyway, y'all, that's pretty much it. That's all I got. We went for 2 hours and 20 minutes. This was a good stream. All the regulars were here. We had a good conversation. And I'm gonna see y'all later. Peace out, y'all. Have a good weekend. Happy holidays. King Jai. Wait. Before y'all go, y'all might be gone already. Y'all got Blue Sky. Follow me on Blue Sky. Follow me on Blue Sky. Peace out. If you haven't already. Absolutely safe. Thanks for the follow. Blue Sky is the future.